Rhett Blackwood is a man who seemingly has it all: a chiseled physique, boardroom dominance, and a net worth that made headlines. As the muscular billionaire CEO of a cutting-edge tech empire, Rhett is used to control. In business, every move is calculated. In life, he believes emotions are liabilities. After witnessing the pain of broken relationships, his own parents' bitter divorce instilled a deep cynicism in him. Rhett made a fateful decision. He would have a child on his own terms. Love and marriage, unnecessary. Instead, he turned to surrogacy as a practical solution to continue his legacy. He doesn't believe in love, only in legacy and fulfilling his vision of a family on paper. Enter Celeste Hart, a young woman with a gentle spirit and resolve far stronger than it first appears. Celeste is in her mid-20s, bright and compassionate. Due to financial struggles and a personal sense of duty, she agrees to become a surrogate mother. Her motivation isn't greed. She intends to use the compensation to pay off her late father's debts and support her ailing mother. It's a sacrifice she's willing to make to secure her family's future. However, Celeste harbors a deeply personal secret, one that even the thorough screening process didn't fully catch. Celeste has never been intimate with anyone. She's a virgin. Ordinarily, a woman who had never been pregnant before wouldn't even qualify as a surrogate under most professional programs. Clinics and agencies require a proven pregnancy history for the health and safety of all involved. But Rhett Blackwood isn't one to let rules stand in his way. Using his influence and resources, he arranges a private surrogacy agreement. He finds a doctor willing to oversee the process independently. Rhett justifies bending the guidelines in cold business terms. The end result, a healthy heir, matters more than the traditional requirements. Celeste, eager to help her family and confident in her health, assures him she can handle it despite her inexperience. Their agreement is straightforward on the surface. Celeste will undergo artificial insemination, using Rhett's sperm, carry the baby to term, and then relinquish all parental rights to Rhett. In fact, they chose traditional surrogacy, using Celeste's own egg, meaning Celeste will be the baby's biological mother as well. Rhett insisted on this method for expediency and perhaps because no other egg donor felt right to him. Both signed contracts acknowledging that despite the genetic link, Rhett will be the sole legal parent. Celeste convinced herself she could give the baby up purely as an act of kindness and duty. After all, she reasoned, she wasn't looking to raise a child right now, especially not one born from a business arrangement. So, on a crisp spring morning, the deal is sealed. Celeste and Rhett meet in a private fertility clinic, both trying to ignore the strange intimacy of the situation. He is all formal handshake and clipped tones as he thanks her for providing this service. She responds politely, masking her nerves with a shy smile. Celeste finds Rhett intimidating yet intriguing. His presence fills the room, and those steel blue eyes of his hold a lifetime's worth of secrets and burdens. For Rhett, Celeste is merely the means to an end at this stage, or so he tells himself. He notes her youthful innocence in passing. She looked barely out of college, with warm amber-brown eyes and a soft smile, but he shoves any personal curiosity aside. Stay detached, he reminds himself. This is a transaction, not a relationship. Thus begins their unusual journey. Neither of them realizes how profoundly this arrangement will change their lives. Rhett's world revolves around power lunches in Manhattan skyscrapers and late-night strategy meetings. Celeste's world, until now, has been far more humble. She was working 2 jobs. In her small hometown before this, worrying about medical bills and mortgages. Their paths would never have crossed romantically. Fate has brought them together in the most contract-bound way possible. Every great story begins with a single choice, and tonight's tale is no exception. If stories of healing, second chances, and hearts colliding speak to you, then you'll feel right at home here. Don't forget to hit subscribe and join us for every chapter ahead. From day one, Rhett is determined to keep everything strictly business. He has his legal team draw up an extensive contract covering every contingency. There are clauses about Celeste's healthcare, nutrition, privacy, and compensation. He doesn't blink at the high cost. He's prepared to pay handsomely to ensure. The surrogate of his child has top-notch care and zero reasons for complaint. To Rhett, this is a project, and he manages it like one, efficiently and unemotionally. Celeste finds herself whisked from her ordinary life into an opulent new reality. As soon as her pregnancy is confirmed, Rhett arranges for her to stay at one of his properties. A sprawling luxury estate outside the city where the air is clean and stress is minimal. It's a coastal mansion set on a private stretch of beach a few hours from NYC, combining urban glamour with isolated intimacy just as Rhett preferred. The idea is to shield her and the precious pregnancy from any harm or distraction. Pulling up to the estate for the first time, Celeste gapes at the sight, a grand mansion of glass and stone perched by the Atlantic Ocean, with manicured gardens stretching out towards dunes. It looks like something out of a movie. "This will be your home for the next several months," Rhett says matter-of-factly, as he helps her out of the car. His tone is courteous but distant, as if he's talking to a valued employee or a delicate client. Celeste clutches her small suitcase, feeling overwhelmed. She cracks a tiny joke to calm her nerves. "I hope I don't get lost in there. I might need a map." To her surprise, Rhett's stern face almost hints at a smile, or at least the ghost of one. "I'll have someone draw you a floor plan," he replies dryly. It's hard to tell if he's kidding, but the absurdity of the response actually makes Celeste giggle. Rhett clears his throat, perhaps unused to casual humor in his personal space. The tension breaks for a moment, and they share a fleeting look of mutual amusement before formality settles back in. Inside, the mansion is even more stunning. Marble floors, sweeping staircases, and floor-to-ceiling windows with ocean views. Celeste's assigned suite is on the east wing, a beautiful set of rooms, with soft cream decor, a balcony overlooking the sea, and an attached nursery already prepared in neutral tones. Rhett has spared no expense in making it comfortable for her. There's a state-of-the-art kitchen where a personal chef will prepare her doctor-approved meals, a small staff including a housekeeper and a nurse on call, and even a home theater and library to keep her entertained during long rest periods. It's luxury beyond Celeste's wildest dreams, yet she feels a pang of loneliness at its perfection. Everything is provided for, except genuine warmth. Before leaving her to settle in, Rhett conducts a brief orientation, as if she's starting a new job. In a sense, she is. Standing a polite distance from Celeste in the grand foyer, he goes over the rules in a low, authoritative voice. "Your health is the top priority. Dr. Montgomery, our on-call physician, will visit weekly. If you need anything at any time, medical or otherwise, you must inform the staff or me immediately. No strenuous activities without clearance. That includes heavy lifting or even intense exercise beyond prenatal yoga. There's a swimming pool and a private beach. You may use them, but only under supervision for now. Security is tight for your safety. The estate is gated and patrolled. Please avoid leaving the grounds. If you must go somewhere, I will arrange an escort. Privacy is crucial. No outside visitors unless cleared by me. Regarding media or outside communication, absolute confidentiality. No social media posts, no interviews. The fact that you are carrying my child is to remain strictly secret. Our PR team will handle any announcements on my terms." He speaks these guidelines almost mechanically, but not unkindly. Celeste listens attentively, nodding. She realizes he's trying to anticipate every possible risk and contain it. It's caring in its own rigid way, she thinks. Yet, a part of her feels like a well-kept prisoner, pampered, but under lock and key. It's a strange dichotomy. She's here voluntarily and knows the rules are for the baby's well-being, but the loss of normal freedoms is daunting. After the litany of instructions, Rhett asks, "Do you have any questions or concerns about the arrangement?" It's phrased formally, as if she's a tenant reviewing a lease. Celeste musters the courage to voice a concern that's been nagging at her. "Mr. Blackwood," she begins. He's insisted she call him that, at least initially. "The contract mentioned I'd get to keep in touch with my family by phone or video. Is that still okay? I don't want my mom to worry. She doesn't know the details, just that I took a long-term caretaking job for good pay." Celeste had been vague with her mother about the surrogacy, fearing judgment, or that her mom's anxiety would skyrocket. Rhett's posture relaxes a fraction. Of course, you can call your mother. The confidentiality clause is mainly about not revealing who or the circumstances. Say whatever you need to, just don't mention me or the surrogacy specifics. Your privacy is important too. He pauses, then adds in a slightly softer tone, we can also arrange a visit if necessary, under discretion. Whatever keeps you stress-free. Celeste exhales, relieved. Thank you. That means a lot. He nods curtly. For a moment, Rhett studies the young woman standing before him in the sunlit foyer. Celeste's figure is petite and still not visibly pregnant at this early stage, but there's a subtle glow about her, perhaps the early hormonal bloom of pregnancy or just her natural warmth. Her honey-brown hair falls in loose waves past her shoulders. She looks around the mansion with a mix of awe and trepidation, and Rhett is reminded that despite her bravery in agreeing to this, she must be scared. The thought tugs at an inconvenient string of empathy inside him. Please make yourself at home. If you need anything at all, inform the staff, he reiterates. I'll be in the city Monday through Friday most of the time, but I'll check in regularly. Rhett's eyes flicker as if he might say more, but instead he simply concludes, Take care, Miss Hart. With that, he offers a polite nod and turns to leave. Celeste watches the imposing yet enigmatic man stride away down the hall, his tailored suit impeccably crisp even after the long drive. She can't help noticing the contrast between his hard, muscular frame and the gentle way he'd spoken just now about her staying stress-free. It's as if two versions of Rhett coexist, the strict businessman and, buried beneath, a man capable of surprising consideration. When she's finally alone, Celeste sinks onto a plush sofa in the suite and lets out a shaky breath. The ocean view from her window is dazzling, but she suddenly feels a wave of emotion. What have I gotten myself into? Here she is, in a stranger's lavish home, pregnant with a child that's half hers, half his, yet planned to be entirely his. She places a hand on her still flat abdomen, whispering, Hey little one, I promise I'll take good care of you while you're with me. A tear slips out as she says it. She knows attachment is dangerous in this situation, but she's human, and despite all the boundaries drawn, she already feels a protective bond forming. Celeste also reflects on the secret she's keeping. The fertility doctor had been discreet and professional. When they performed the insemination procedure, no one directly asked Celeste about her intimate history beyond medical essentials. She certainly didn't volunteer, by the way. I've never had sex before. It felt irrelevant. After all, she was getting pregnant clinically, not the old-fashioned way. Still, she wonders what Rhett would think if he knew. Would he find it bizarre? Would he judge her as naive or inexperienced for taking on surrogacy without ever having a relationship? The thought makes her cheeks warm with embarrassment. It's not something I plan to advertise, she resolves. She'll cross that bridge only if necessary. In the days that follow, a new routine takes shape. Celeste has daily check-ins with a nutritionist and nurse, gentle walks in the garden, and lots of free time she fills by reading or video calling her mom. Rhett is true to his word about checking in, though always in a professional capacity. He phoned every evening, checking how she felt and whether the staff met her needs. Their conversations stayed polite and brief. Good evening, Miss Hart. How are you today? He would begin, his tone unfailingly formal. Celeste, smiling to herself, would report that she'd just finished the chef's grilled salmon with vegetables and that the nurse said her vitals looked good. Rhett always followed with practical care. He told her to let him know about any cravings or cuisine changes so he could have the menu adjusted. The offer surprised her the first time. She admitted she'd craved ice cream and even chuckled about it. That drew a flicker of concern from him. Had she actually eaten some? She assured him she had, and only after clearing it with Nurse Halliday to stay within her limits. I feel a bit spoiled here, she'd add. You're not spoiled, he'd say, voice softening. You're supported. It's what you deserve for what you're doing. Celeste finds herself smiling after each call. She senses Rhett's guarded nature, but there's a kindness peeking through. In his attentive questions, he just frames it in a business-like manner. On Rhett's end, these nightly calls become something he oddly looks forward to. Amidst his high-stakes meetings and the ceaseless stream of emails, the few minutes hearing Celeste's gentle voice bring him a strange peace. He often catches himself picturing her at the estate, curled up on the sofa with a novel or strolling by the rose bushes at sunset. He scolds himself whenever his mind wanders that way. Focus, he insists. It's all for the baby. However, reality soon proves that human connections can't be managed by contract. As the pregnancy progresses week by week, Rhett starts visiting the estate on weekends, ostensibly to oversee the project, as he phrases it to himself. In truth, he's drawn by curiosity and responsibility. He wants to see with his own eyes that Celeste is healthy. The first time he arrives unannounced on a Saturday afternoon, Celeste is out on the back patio, attempting a prenatal yoga routine by the sea. The scene takes Rhett by surprise. She's balanced in a yoga pose, the ocean breeze ruffling her hair, looking serene and strong. It's one of the first times he's seen her in casual attire, leggings and a tank top, rather than a dress or the modest clothes she wore at the clinic. There's a glow about her that catches him off guard. Not wanting to startle her, he approaches with a rare smile touching his lips. "I see you're making good use of the view," he calls out gently. Celeste wobbles in surprise at his sudden appearance, nearly toppling over. She laughs as she regains her balance, a little embarrassed. "Oh, Mr. Blackwood, I didn't hear you arrive," she says, a bit flustered, grabbing a towel to pat away the light sheen of sweat from her yoga session. She's about 8 weeks along now, no baby bump yet, but she's definitely dealing with some early pregnancy symptoms like fatigue and the occasional wave of nausea. Rhett carries a small bag in one hand. He gestures for her to sit in one of the patio chairs. "Don't get up on my account. I just came to drop off a few things and see how you're doing in person." Celeste sits, and Rhett, to her surprise, offers her a bottle of cool water from the patio table and even hands her a little container from the bag he brought. "These are ginger candies," he explains, a bit awkwardly. "I recall the doctor mentioning they can help with any nausea. I picked them up on my way here. Are you feeling okay? Any morning sickness?" Celeste's eyes widen at the thoughtfulness. Who would have pegged the stern CEO as someone who'd remember a detail like ginger for nausea? She's touched. He must have gone out of his way. "Thank you. That's really kind. I do get some nausea, especially in the mornings, so I'll definitely try these." "That was very considerate of you." Rhett simply nods, trying to appear nonchalant. Inside, he's experiencing an unfamiliar satisfaction at her gratitude. He tells himself this is just due diligence, yet the warmth in her smile makes him feel something personal. They spend a few minutes chatting, a rarity beyond the formal phone calls. Celeste updates him on little things. "The baby's the size of a raspberry this week," she says with a grin, referencing one of those pregnancy tracking apps. "I read that their heart has started beating. Isn't that amazing?" Her eyes shine with excitement. Rhett finds himself softening as he listens. "It is," he admits quietly. "Science and nature, truly amazing." He hesitates, then asks, "May I hear it sometime? The heartbeat?" He almost bites his tongue, surprised at himself for asking. In truth, he's been so focused on end goals that he hadn't considered these small milestones. But hearing Celeste's genuine wonder ignites his own curiosity. Celeste's face brightens. "Of course, I have an OB appointment next week in the city for an ultrasound. If you're free, you could come along? They'll likely let us hear the heartbeat." She sounds hopeful. She had assumed he might be too busy, but she bravely extends the invitation. Rhett immediately calculates his schedule. Normally, he'd send one of his assistants or the estate's driver to accompany her to routine appointments. But suddenly he doesn't want to miss this. "I'll make time," he hears himself say. "Just send me the date and time. I'll be there." Celeste beams. That genuine happiness on her face is new. Previously, she's been polite, content, but this is the first time he's made her truly happy, and it's simply by showing interest in the baby beyond duty. Rhett stands there for a moment, feeling an unfamiliar warmth in his chest. He coughs and pulls himself together. Well, I should let you get back to your relaxation. I have some emails to catch up on. It's an excuse to leave before he overstays and betrays how much he's enjoying her company. As he heads inside, Celeste calls out, half teasing, "Thank you again, Mr. Blackwood, and thanks for not laughing at my yoga poses. I'm not exactly graceful these days." He turns at the doorway and replies, "You're doing fine, and you can call me Rhett, you know. We're going to be seeing a lot of each other these coming months." His tone is still cool, but the offer is significant. He's dropping a bit of the formality. Celeste nods, heartened. "All right, Rhett, see you later." When Rhett leaves the estate that day, he finds himself replaying the afternoon in his mind. Celeste's laughter when she almost fell over, the way her face lit up talking about the baby, and the surprised delight when he gave her the ginger candies. He had caused that smile. The notion gives him a quiet sense of joy. Driving back to the city, he starts to wonder about her more deeply. What kind of life had she led before this? What dreams does she have for herself? He realizes he knows so little about the woman carrying his child, beyond her medical stats and the fact that she's responsible and kind-hearted. Normally he wouldn't care, but now he finds that he does. Meanwhile, over the following weeks, Celeste grows more comfortable in her gilded cage. True to his word, Rhett attends the next ultrasound. In the dim exam room, as the sonographer moves the probe over Celeste's tiny baby bump, she's around 12 weeks by then, and a slight curve is visible. The sound of a rapid little heartbeat fills the air. Lub-dub, fast and strong. Celeste instinctively reaches out, and Rhett, standing beside the exam table, takes her hand in his. It's the first time they've truly touched skin to skin, and the significance isn't lost on either of them. Rhett's large hand envelops hers with a gentle squeeze as they both listen in awe. Celeste's eyes mist with tears of joy. She glances up at Rhett and is startled to see his eyes shiny as well, his usually stoic face softened with wonder. In that moment, they share something profoundly intimate, the realization that together, however unconventionally, they have created a new life. If this moment touched your heart, don't forget to give this story a thumbs up. Share it with someone if you believe love can grow in the most unexpected places. Afterwards, in the car, Rhett is quieter than usual. Celeste thanks him repeatedly for coming, babbling about how magical it was to hear the heartbeat. He finally speaks, voice a bit rough. "Thank you for doing this, for taking care of our—" He stops himself and corrects, "my baby." There's an awkward pause. Celeste notices the slip. He almost said "our baby." It gives her a flutter in her chest. "It's our baby in there," she says softly. A gentle correction, at least biologically. "I know legally things will be different, but I'm not forgetting that it's a part of me too." She places a hand protectively on her belly. It's the first time either of them has openly acknowledged that truth since signing the papers. Rhett swallows, not sure how to respond. He spent years hardening himself against emotional entanglements, but hearing her say, "our baby," strikes a chord. No. Attachment was never part of the deal, he reminds himself. Yet, sitting next to Celeste in the back of the chauffeured car, he feels more like an expectant father than a distant client. Without thinking, he reaches over and covers her hand on her belly with his own, a silent agreement. They exchange a look, one that holds a mix of hope, fear, and a burgeoning connection. Over the second trimester, this bond only deepens. Celeste blossoms under Rhett's care, and Rhett, to his own surprise, finds joy in caring for her. His weekend visits become longer. Sometimes he even stays overnight in a separate wing after spending long evenings talking with her over dinner. Their dinners start off formal, the chef serving courses while Rhett inquires about her health, but gradually shift to something almost like dates. One Friday, Rhett shows up with a stack of movies on DVD, remembering Celeste had mentioned she loved old romantic comedies. They end up watching The Proposal in the mansion's home theater, and Celeste is delighted to discover Rhett has a sly sense of humor. He even chuckles at the witty banter, though he quickly tries to hide it. In these moments, Celeste often forgets he's a billionaire CEO with a heart of steel. She sees instead an attentive, if somewhat awkward, man who seems starved for simple human warmth. He opens up in small ways, mentioning his mother passed away years ago, and that his father raised him to be tough as nails in business. He doesn't delve into much detail, but Celeste senses a lonely childhood behind his polished exterior. Rhett also listens when Celeste talks about her own life, how she had to drop out of college to work when her dad got sick, how she loves to paint in her free time, how she's terrified and excited about this pregnancy at the same time. One night, as they stroll slowly along the moonlit beach, Rhett insisted a short walk would be good exercise. Celeste suddenly stops to catch her breath. Rhett immediately is at her side, concern etched on his face. "Are you all right? Dizzy?" he asks, gently steadying her elbow. Celeste laughs softly. "I'm okay. I think I just felt a flutter." She takes his hand without hesitation and places it on her belly, over her light sweater. "Right here. Do you feel that?" Rhett stands very still, hand splayed on the gentle curve of her 5-month pregnant stomach. A moment passes, then thump, a tiny kick pulses against his palm. His eyes widen in astonishment. "Is that?" Celeste nods, grinning ear to ear. The baby kicking, well, more like little flutters. They're getting active in there. Rhett is speechless. In that instant, feeling his child move inside Celeste, a wave of protectiveness and affection washes over him so strong that it nearly knocks the air from his lungs. This is real, he realizes. Not just a project or a future heir, but a child, his child, and Celeste is the one nurturing this life so lovingly. Without thinking, Rhett leaves his hand where it is, drawing slightly closer to Celeste. They stand facing each other under the silver glow of the moon. Celeste's heart pounds, not from exertion now, but from how intimately Rhett is looking at her. His usual guarded eyes are filled with awe and something else, something warm. "Thank you," he whispers, his voice unusually tender. It's unclear whether he's thanking her for sharing the moment, for carrying the baby, or for something deeper. Perhaps all of it. Celeste's breath hitches. Rhett's face is inches from hers now. She can feel the warmth of him, see the gentle expression on a face that so many in the boardroom likely find fearsome. She suddenly notices how handsome he truly is, not just in the obvious magazine cover way, but in the little details, the tiny scar on his chin hinting at some childhood accident, the way his dark hair ruffles slightly in the ocean breeze, and the vulnerability in his eyes at this exact second. Her throat feels dry. "I'm happy I can do this," she manages to reply softly. "Happy I can help you become a father." Rhett's hand is still on her belly. The baby gives another little kick as if on cue, startling them both into soft laughter. The intimate spell breaks gently, and Rhett, perhaps realizing he's lingered too close, coughs and steps back, though his hand reluctantly slips away last. "We should head back. It's getting chilly," he says, ever practical, though his voice is huskier than usual. As they walk back to the mansion, side by side, Celeste wraps her arms around herself, not from cold but to quell the swirling emotions. "I have to be careful," she warns herself. She can feel it happening. She's growing attached, not just to the baby, that was inevitable, but to Rhett, and that was never part of the plan. Does he feel anything for her beyond duty? Sometimes she thinks she catches him looking at her with gentleness, even longing, but she worries she might be imagining it, projecting her own developing feelings onto him. After all, who is she to him? She reminds herself she's an employee in this, albeit one carrying his child. He's kind to her, yes, but maybe that's just his decent nature and gratitude. For Rhett, that night is sleepless. He lies in his bedroom, now often taking the one across the hall from Celeste's suite whenever. He stays over, under the pretense of being available in case of any emergency. Thoughts of Celeste swirl in his mind. The way she gasped softly when the baby kicked, the trust in her eyes when she guided his hand. The way he almost kissed her under the moonlight. Yes, he admits it plainly to himself now. He wanted to kiss her in that moment. It shocks him how badly he wanted it. Rhett hasn't allowed himself romantic entanglements in years. A few short-term relationships, carefully kept casual to avoid drama, have come and gone. He's kept his heart at a distance from everyone. But here, now, with the woman carrying his baby just down the hall, he feels his walls crumbling. The realization is as exhilarating as it is terrifying. He knows she'll be in his life for a finite time. After the baby is born, she's contractually not bound to stay. In fact, the agreement was that she would quietly exit after handing the baby over, with an ongoing stipend and an understanding she could visit occasionally as a family friend if they both agreed. Initially, Rhett thought that was perfect, clean and simple. Now that plan strikes him as unbearably cold. The thought of Celeste walking out of this house, out of his life, leaving him and the baby alone. It makes his chest ache in a way he's never felt. He finds himself pondering scenarios that break his own rules. What if I asked her to stay? What if we raised the baby together? The sheer seriousness of those thoughts causes him to sit up in bed, running a hand through his hair. This is getting complicated. He knows business, he knows strategy, and his heart is behaving like an unpredictable startup, threatening to throw off all his well-laid plans. As winter sets in, the world outside turns white with snow, and the atmosphere inside the estate grows warmer and more intimate. By now, Celeste is in her late second trimester. Her belly is pronounced, and the baby's kicks are stronger each week. Rhett spends even more time at the estate, often working remotely from there several days a week. He set up a home office in one of the studies where he takes video conferences and calls, and in between he checks in on Celeste, sometimes under the guise of grabbing coffee in the kitchen when he knows she'll be there with her, midday snack, or getting some fresh air when he sees her reading on the patio. Each small interaction is becoming less formal and more familiar. They joke lightly. Rhett has even dared to tease her about her addiction to a certain soap opera she streams, and she in turn teases him about his all-black wardrobe. To an outside observer, they might look like a married couple preparing for their first child, except that a subtle tension still simmers, the tension of unspoken feelings and unacknowledged desires. However, one piece of Celeste's guarded self remains: her virginity. She's never had a reason or the courage to bring it up, and honestly, in day-to-day life, it doesn't directly arise. Rhett, for his part, hasn't given a thought to Celeste's romantic or sexual past. He simply assumed she, like most people in their mid-20s, likely had some past relationships. If anything, a flicker of jealousy hits him whenever he idly imagines her with some faceless boyfriend from before. He quickly squashes those thoughts. One blustery evening they find themselves cozied up in the library sitting room, a fire crackling in the hearth. Rhett had noticed Celeste seemed a bit down that day. The winter weather has confined them indoors, and she mentioned feeling caged. To lift her spirits, he suggested they decorate an early nursery Christmas tree together even. Though the baby isn't due until late winter, he thought a holiday project might be fun. And it was. They spent an afternoon hanging ornaments and drinking hot cocoa. Celeste laughed at Rhett's rather clumsy attempts at tinsel art, boardroom genius, but defeated by tinsel she'd ribbed, to which he responded with a rare boyish grin. Now, tree twinkling beside them, they are enjoying a rare treat. Rhett allowed himself a small glass of red wine, just one, as he seldom loosens up with alcohol, especially around her, and poured Celeste a glass of sparkling cider. The mood is cheerful and relaxed. They sit on the plush rug by the fire, a spread of snacks between them, Celeste's ever present. Appetite means there are crackers and cheese, and of course, pickle slices, her weird craving of the week, which Rhett fetched from the kitchen without batting an eye. Celeste is recounting a funny story from her high school days, and Rhett is listening with rapt attention, propped on one elbow. And of course, I slipped right in front of the whole marching band. It was mortifying, Celeste says, chuckling at the memory of a pep rally mishap. Rhett smirks. I find that hard to believe. You seem too graceful to take a spill like that. Oh, trust me, I was a klutz. Still am sometimes, she says. To prove a point, she reaches for a piece of cheese and accidentally knocks over a couple of ornament boxes they left by the coffee table. They both laugh as Rhett picks them up. As he straightens, Rhett says in a lighter tone than usual, "We all have our embarrassing moments. I recall at university, I once walked into the wrong lecture and sat there for half an hour before, realizing I was in advanced organic chemistry instead of macroeconomics. I was taking notes diligently on completely indecipherable formulas. The professor finally asked if I was feeling all right. He shakes his head at himself. Celeste giggles. I can't picture you making a mistake like that. I wasn't always as on top of things as I am now, he admits. I was a bit of a workaholic nerd. Still am, I suppose. She tilts her head, genuinely curious. Did you ever date at all back then? I mean, with all the work and, forgive me if that's too personal. It's the first time either of them has broached the topic of past relationships. Rhett looks into the fire. I had a couple of flings in college, he says slowly. Nothing serious. And a more serious relationship a few years ago, which ended mutually. He omits details, like how that girlfriend left because Rhett refused to let her in emotionally, or how he buried himself in work to numb the sting of loneliness afterwards. Since then I've been single by choice. And yourself? Surely you left a broken heart or two behind. Celeste feels a blush creeping up. Here it is, she thinks. Do I tell him the truth or just gloss over? She opts for half-truth first. Oh, I dated a little, but nothing really stuck. She fidgets with a loose thread on her sweater. I guess you could say I was pretty focused on family stuff and surviving life's curveballs. After my dad passed, I was just working constantly. Not much time for dating. Rhett studies her face. There's something she's not saying, he can tell. Her tone is evasive, not reminiscing. He's learned to read her moods over these months. No high school sweetheart? No college romance? He probes gently, a curious smile on his lips. Celeste bites her lip. She decides to come clean, if only to avoid further probing that might lead to an awkward lie. She draws a deep breath. I've never had a serious boyfriend. Or any real boyfriend, she confesses, her eyes fixed on the fire rather than on him. I went to a couple of dances, had a few crushes, but nothing beyond that. Rhett appears surprised. Really? A beautiful woman like you. I'm astonished. No man swept you off your feet, he says, half in compliment, half in disbelief. She laughs nervously. Maybe I wasn't ready to be swept. Or I was too picky, she jests. The moment of truth now or never, she thinks. In fact, I've never. She clears her throat, cheeks burning. I've never been with anyone, in that way. Her voice almost drops to a whisper at the end. For a second, Rhett doesn't grasp her meaning. But then, his eyes widen slightly, and he sits up straighter. You mean, you're a... He doesn't even say the word, not wanting to embarrass her by spelling it out. Celeste nods, face fully flushed. A virgin, yes. She forces herself to look at him, expecting, she doesn't even know what, maybe mockery, surprise, or to see him trying to hide some judgment. Rhett's expression is indeed shocked, but not in a mocking way. If anything, he looks as if she's just told him something sacred. His gaze softens. Celeste, that's nothing to be ashamed of, he says quietly, noticing her clear embarrassment. It's just unexpected. I assumed. Well, it doesn't matter what I assumed. You're full of surprises. His lips curve into a reassuring smile. She lets out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. I was worried you'd think it's silly. A 24-year-old woman who's never, It's not that I took a vow or anything. Life just worked out that way. And I figured, if I was waiting this long, I wanted it to be with someone special, not just a random fling. Rhett nods, taking this in. Inside, his mind is racing. Celeste, carrying his child, is untouched by any other man. The thought stirs a primal protective feeling in him, and yes, if he's honest, a flush of male pride and desire. He pushes aside any inappropriate thoughts. She's confiding in him, and he doesn't want her to regret it. I think that's Admirable, actually, he says sincerely. It shows you value yourself, and you don't settle. There's nothing silly about that. Celeste peeks up at him, surprised at his gentle reaction. Thank you. I was half expecting a "what's wrong with you" reaction, she jokes dryly. Rhett's brows knit. There's nothing wrong with you. Any man would be lucky to be that person for you. His voice drops a bit on that last part, a flicker of tension passing between them. They sit in silence for a moment, the air thick with a new kind of awareness. Celeste feels relief that he knows now and that he didn't freak out, but also a new kind of vulnerability. Here she is, a pregnant virgin, in the presence of the man who made her pregnant in a very clinical way. It's almost poetic irony. Rhett, on his part, is experiencing a torrent of feelings. Protectiveness surges even more strongly. Celeste entrusted him with a deeply personal truth. That she has never been loved physically by anyone makes him want to treat her even more delicately. And then there's another feeling, one he tries to keep gentlemanly and respectful, the thought that if she ever does give herself to someone, he wants desperately to be that man. The realization is electrifying. He cares for her, more than he's allowed himself to say. And yes, he's attracted to her, deeply, on every level. But he fights to maintain composure. To ease the intensity, Rhett makes a light comment. I suppose this arrangement is rather unorthodox then. Pregnant before your first kiss, huh? He knows she's had kisses. Actually, does he know that? He suddenly is intensely curious if she's even kissed anyone. Celeste lets out a genuine laugh, appreciating his attempt to lighten the mood. It is unorthodox, she agrees, relaxing. And for the record, I have been kissed. Just not more. She's smiling now, eyes glinting with humor. So, don't worry, I'm not that sheltered. He chuckles softly. All right. Noted. A playful glint appears in his own eyes. Good, because I was about to feel terribly guilty that I'd stolen your chance for a normal progression of things. Celeste shakes her head, teasing, well, you did catapult me straight into pregnancy without the fun part leading up to it. The second the words escape, she realizes how flirtatious that sounds. Her hand flies to her mouth. I'm sorry, that sounded... But Rhett laughs, a full, warm laugh that lights up his face. No, you're right, he says, once his laughter subsides into a grin. I seem to have skipped a few steps. Always efficient, I guess, he adds wryly. His gaze on her now holds a definite heat mixed with affection. Joking aside, I know this hasn't been easy for you. You've given up a lot, your time, your body's comfort, and clearly a milestone of your life, to make this happen. I won't forget that, Celeste. The way he says her first name sends a little thrill through her. There's a silent promise in his words that she can't quite decipher, but it makes her heart flutter. Celeste tucks a strand of hair behind her ear. It's been more than I expected, in a good way. I've learned a lot about myself. And, she pauses, gathering courage to be a bit more open. I've grown very fond of you, Rhett. Her eyes meet his, vulnerability laid bare. Rhett's breath catches. There's no mistaking the meaning in her tone. Before he can overthink, he responds in a low voice. Celeste, Suddenly, a log in the fireplace pops loudly, sending a small spray of sparks up the chimney. The spell breaks. Celeste jumps slightly at the sound, and Rhett instinctively reaches a hand to her back, reassuring her. They both laugh at themselves for getting startled, but the charged moment from seconds before has dissipated into a more comfortable calm. It's getting late, Celeste whispers, noticing the clock on the mantel showing nearly midnight. Rhett reluctantly nods. You should get your rest. He helps her to her feet. As she stands, she sways a bit. Sitting on the floor for so long made her legs numb. Rhett immediately steadies her by the shoulders. They're very close now, face to face, the firelight dancing across their features. Celeste's pulse quickens. Is this that moment? The one every romantic movie hints at, where the gaze lingers and a kiss becomes inevitable. Her lips part in anticipation, her eyes flicker down to Rhett's mouth, then back up to his eyes without even meaning to. Rhett notices. Of course he notices. He's attuned to every subtle move she makes. He can almost hear her unspoken invitation. His heart thunders. "Should I?" a part of him asks. The cautious part counters. She deserves better than a spur of the moment kiss by the fire when I haven't even sorted out what I can offer her. He doesn't want to be irresponsible with her feelings. In the end, Rhett musters all his restraint, and instead of kissing her, he lifts one of her hands to his lips and places a gentle kiss on the back of her hand. It's an old-fashioned, tender gesture, one that somehow feels even more intimate in its deliberate grace. "Good night, Celeste," he murmurs, his voice husky. Celeste's cheeks flush not from embarrassment this time, but from the romantic sweetness of it. She finds her voice, though it trembles slightly. "Good night, Rhett." They part, Celeste heading to her bedroom and Rhett remaining by the dying fire for a while, staring into the embers with a mixture of regret and hope swirling in his chest. Regret that he held back. Hope that perhaps soon he won't have to. Celeste closes her bedroom door, leans against it, and exhales a long breath. Her hand is still warm where he kissed it. He didn't kiss me on the lips, she thinks, but that felt like the most romantic goodnight I've ever had. She touches her hand to her cheek, smiling like a giddy teenager. Both of them lay awake in their respective beds for a long time that night, hearts restless, but strangely at peace, knowing that something profound has shifted between them. What Rhett did next, that chaste kiss and the honoring of her secret, left Celeste truly stunned in the best way. She had feared his reaction to her innocence, but he met it with respect and tenderness. In that gentle gesture, Rhett wordlessly promised to treasure her trust. It wasn't the grand seduction one might expect from a billionaire, but to Celeste, it meant everything. Little do they know, the true tests of their relationship are yet to come, as the due date draws near. Life will throw challenges that threaten to tear them apart or bind them irrevocably together. The real drama is about to unfold, proving that love, once kindled, is not easily extinguished. In the wake of the revelation about Celeste's virginity, the dynamic between her and Rhett becomes undeniably more personal. The emotional intimacy they've developed now simmers with an undercurrent of romantic tension. Both are acutely aware of it, yet they tread carefully. Rhett, having acknowledged to himself that he's fallen for her, is determined to handle her heart gently. Celeste, having sensed his growing care, allows herself to hope that perhaps this isn't just a business arrangement anymore. Perhaps there's a chance for a real relationship. Still, neither has outright confessed deep feelings. They exist in a delicate in-between, each action and gesture layered with meaning. As the pregnancy enters the third trimester, Celeste's belly is quite pronounced, and simple tasks become harder for her. Rhett practically becomes her shadow when he's at the estate, ever attentive. The staff joke, only out of earshot that the boss has turned into a doting father-to-be. One morning, Celeste struggles to tie her shoelaces before a walk. Rhett wordlessly kneels and ties them for her. When her back aches from the weight of the baby, Rhett surprises her by gently massaging her lower back. The first time, his hands roam over her in a way that's both innocent and intimate. Celeste has to bite her lip at how heavenly it feels, and Rhett has to mentally recite stock market figures to keep himself composed at the softness of her skin under his fingers. They also share lighter moments filled with humor and charm, as prescribed by the odd fate that threw them together. Celeste's cravings have hit an all-time high. One week she's desperate for peanut butter and fried banana sandwiches. At 2 a.m., she's wrestling with the urge and finally gives in, tiptoeing to the kitchen. To her surprise, she finds Rhett already there, in silk pajamas, attempting to slice a banana. He looks up sheepishly. "I heard you mention it at dinner. I had a hunch you might want this later," he admits. It turns out he'd set an alarm to preemptively prepare the snack in case she woke up hungry. Celeste bursts out laughing. The image of the powerful CEO standing there with sticky peanut butter on his fingers is too much. Rhett mock frowns, then laughs too, and they end up eating the sandwiches, together at the kitchen island, chatting about baby names between bites. They both pretend not to notice when Celeste casually wipes a smudge of peanut butter from the corner of Rhett's mouth with her thumb an instinctively sweet gesture that leaves them both blushing and smiling. Another day, Rhett joins Celeste in an online childbirth class video, something the doctor recommended. It's a comedic sight, Rhett sitting cross-legged on a yoga mat behind, Celeste palms on her belly as they practice breathing techniques. The instructor on the screen encourages the partner to speak positive affirmations. Rhett, feeling a bit silly but game, murmurs, "You're doing great. You're strong." Celeste can't help but giggle at his overly serious tone. "You sound like you're negotiating a merger, not comforting a laboring woman," she teases. He huffs in mock offense, then in a dramatic deep voice intones one of the affirmations from the video script, "Your body is a powerful vessel." Celeste laughs so hard she snorts, and then he laughs at that, and soon they're both in a heap of laughter on the mats. "I don't know about you, but I'm smiling through this moment. If it made you smile too, tap that like button. It helps the channel so much and tells me you're enjoying these stories." However, not all is perfectly smooth. One chilly afternoon, Celeste receives a tearful call from her mother. Her mom's medical bills have increased unexpectedly, and there's a threat of losing the family home because an old debt resurfaced. Celeste tries to remain calm and reassure her mother, but after hanging up, she breaks down crying. Rhett finds her in the sitting room, tears streaming down her face as she holds the phone with trembling hands. Immediately alarmed, he kneels beside her chair. "Celeste, what happened? Are you hurt? Is it the baby?" he asks urgently. Through sobs, she explains the situation, how her mom is at risk of eviction, how helpless she feels being stuck here, unable to fix it. It all pours out. "I came into this surrogacy hoping to solve problems for my family. I thought the money would cover everything, but life keeps throwing more at us. I'm scared, Rhett. My mom, she has nobody but me." She hiccups through tears, looking so vulnerable it slashes at Rhett's heart. Without hesitation, Rhett wraps her in his arms. It might be the first time he's fully embraced her. Celeste doesn't resist. She buries her face against his chest, clutching his shirt as she cries. He holds her securely, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other rubbing soothing circles on her back. "Shh, it's okay," he whispers, his own voice thick with emotion. "I'm here. I'll take care of it." And he does. Within the hour, Rhett has phoned his finance manager to immediately transfer funds, to settle the debt and set up a trust to pay all of Celeste's mother's expenses. Celeste protests when she realizes what he's doing. "Rhett, I can't let you, that's beyond what we agreed." But he gently cuts her off, cupping her face in his palms. "Listen to me. I have the means and I want to do this. You are doing something extraordinary for me, for us. Let me help your family. Please." His forehead rests against hers as he wipes her tears with his thumbs. Celeste finally nods, overcome by gratitude and something deeper, love. There's no denying it now. In that moment, she feels love for him flood her heart. This strengthens their bond. Celeste has never had someone swoop in to protect her like this, and Rhett finds unparalleled joy in being that protector. That night, after things calm down, Celeste thanks him softly, saying he has no idea what kind of hero he's become to her. Rhett nearly responds with a confession of love, but he stops himself. Instead, he kisses her forehead and says, "You and the baby are my responsibility now. I take care of what's mine." The words, "what's mine," echo in Celeste's ears as she drifts to sleep that night, heart fluttering. Not everything revolves around the estate. Rhett's company, Blackwood Tech, is gearing up for a major product launch. Rhett has been juggling his CEO duties and spending time with Celeste, but now a crisis hits. A key investor threatens to back out unless Rhett can prove he's fully committed to the business, not distracted. Word somehow got around in elite circles that Rhett is having a child, via surrogate, likely through a nosy relative or a loose-lipped staff member in the city. This investor, an old-school businessman named Gregory Crane, implies that a single-father situation could be unstable for the company's image. It's a thinly veiled ultimatum: show us your life is in order or lose funding. Rhett is livid at the intrusion into his personal life. He keeps this from Celeste initially, not wanting to stress her. But stress finds a way in. One weekend, an unexpected visitor arrives at the estate, Victoria Ellison, Rhett's ex-fiancée. Yes, the one mutual breakup from years ago. In truth, Victoria is a socialite who ended things when Rhett wouldn't prioritize her over work. Now, with the news circulating that Rhett will soon have a child, scandalously, via a surrogate and with no wife, Victoria sees an opportunity. Perhaps Rhett needs a proper wife to complete the picture, and why shouldn't it be her? Especially since she hears of Crane's concerns. Victoria, who still moves in those investment circles, practically invites herself under the guise of concern for Rhett. She shows up in designer winter wear, all polished smiles, and Rhett, who did not invite her, is caught off guard when security lets him know she's at the gate. Celeste is in the kitchen when Rhett walks in looking troubled. An old acquaintance is here to see me. I'll handle it. It shouldn't take long, he says. Celeste doesn't pry, but a pang of anxiety hits when she glimpses from the window a beautiful woman greeting Rhett with a hug on the front steps. They retreat to his study for privacy. Celeste, trying to give benefit of doubt, focuses on baking, her new hobby to pass time. Today it's banana bread. But her mind wanders. She hadn't considered an ex might be in his life. Are they reconciling? Who is she? She doesn't want to jump to conclusions, but it's hard not to feel a stab of jealousy. In the study, Victoria purrs false pleasantries, then gets to her point. Rhett, darling, I heard the news. A baby, how wonderful. But you must know the board, and investors are buzzing. They think you've lost your mind a bit, doing this alone. She lays a manicured hand on his arm. Maybe you don't have to do it alone. I was thinking, we had something good once. Perhaps it wasn't our time then, but people change. I've changed. I could help you raise this child, give them a proper family, and you'd solidify support. No one would question a happily married CEO with an heir. Her tone is smooth, as if she's proposing a merger. Rhett steps back, bristling. He realizes this is more Crane's doing than genuine love. Victoria, that's generous of you, he says tightly, but completely unnecessary. My personal life is not a business strategy. She presses on, undeterred. Isn't it? You know appearances matter. Think about it. You, me, the baby, like a ready-made family. We could even say the surrogacy was for us if it makes it cleaner. She wrinkles her nose as she adds, no need to mention the surrogate beyond a footnote. That last line triggers Rhett's protective fury. The surrogate, he replies icily, has a name. Celeste is not a footnote. She's the mother of my child and has sacrificed more than you could imagine. Victoria looks taken aback by the passion in his response. Mother of your child? But she's just... Rhett's eyes blaze. Careful, she is not just anything. And as for this idea of yours, he takes a breath, steadying himself. I appreciate that you think you're helping, but you're not. If Crane or anyone else has doubts about my stability, I'll handle them in my own way. I will not fabricate a loveless marriage to appease shareholders. Victoria's smile falters. She realizes this isn't going her way. Her eyes narrow slightly. Are you sure, Rhett? You'd choose a hired womb over an equal partner from your own world? She says, a trace of venom. Rhett's jaw clenches. I think you should leave now, he says quietly but firmly. And in the future, don't presume to know what or who I need in my life. Stunned by the rejection, Victoria turns on her heel with as much dignity as she can muster. As Rhett escorts her to the door, Celeste happens to come around the corner, flower on her apron. She freezes, seeing them. Rhett quickly introduces, sensing Celeste's unease. Celeste, this is Victoria, an old friend. She was just leaving. Victoria looks Celeste up and down, taking in the pregnancy glow and simple attire, and gives a tight, polite smile. Pleasure, and congrats, she says coolly. Then adds, you're in good. Hands here, in a tone Celeste can't quite read but doesn't like. With that, she struts out to her car. Celeste stands awkwardly, one hand on her belly, the other gripping the spoon she was holding. Rhett immediately steps closer. 1,000 apologies in his expression. "I'm sorry for the interruption. She shouldn't have come." Who is she?" Celeste asks softly, trying to sound casual but failing. Rhett runs a hand through his hair, sighing. "My ex-fiancée from years ago. She heard about the baby and had some misguided ideas." He meets Celeste's gaze earnestly. "I sent her away." "There's nothing for you to worry about." Celeste relaxes a fraction, but now that the question is out, her insecurities flood forward. "Is it true? Are people saying you need to not be alone?" She bites her lip. That having a single dad image is bad. Rhett curses under his breath that she overheard anything. He takes her hand. "Some old-fashioned folks think that." Crane, an investor, was making noises. "I'll take care of it. I don't want you stressing about these things." She looks down. I don't want to complicate your life. If having me, or rather, having this situation is hurting your business." "Stop," he says, firm but gentle. With a finger under her chin, he tips her face up to look at him. "You and our baby are my life now. Business is business. I've handled plenty of crises. Don't ever think you're a complication I'd rather do without. Ever." His intensity leaves no room for doubt. Celeste feels tears prick. To hide it, she musters a little smirk, wiping her floury hand on his shirt playfully. "All right, I believe you. Sorry, I got some flour on your Armani." He chuckles, relieved the tension is easing. "It's worth it." Then he grows serious. Celeste, about what she said, implying a marriage of convenience. "I would never do that. To you, or to anyone. When I marry, and I haven't really thought I ever would, but if I do, it will be for the right reasons. Love, family, all the things I used to think I didn't need." He searches her face, hoping she hears the subtext, the things I now know I want, with you. Her heart skips. Is he saying what I think he's saying? Before she can respond, a sudden pain lances through her abdomen. She winces hard, gasping. Rhett is immediately all concern. "What's wrong?" Celeste clutches her belly. I don't know. A sharp pain just now." "Oh." She tenses as it comes again. Fear flashes in her eyes. She's only 34 weeks along. It's a bit early for labor. Rhett doesn't hesitate. He scoops her arm over his and guides her to the car while shouting for the nurse on staff. In minutes they're on the way to the hospital with the doctor alerted. It turns out to be a false alarm. Braxton Hicks contractions and a bit of dehydration. But the scare is enough to jolt them both. At the hospital, Rhett stays by Celeste's side every second, holding her hand through the monitoring, brow furrowed with worry. When the doctor assures them mother and baby are fine, Rhett finally exhales. Celeste sees in his eyes the sheer terror he felt at the thought of something going wrong. It mirrors her own terror. That night, back at the estate, Rhett refuses to leave her side. He insists on staying in the room adjacent to hers, the first time he's so blatantly hovered. Celeste actually finds it comforting. She sleeps better, knowing he's near. And, indeed, he checks on her twice in the night, just to be sure she's all right. After that incident, Rhett makes a decision. Life is fragile and unpredictable. He could have lost. He can't even bear to finish the thought. What was he waiting for? Why keep walls up when it's clear as day that he loves her? Yes, love. He admits it fully now. He's in love with Celeste. The realization is not scary anymore. It's freeing. And he is fairly sure from every tender look and gesture that she feels the same about him, even if neither has spoken the words. So Rhett begins to plan something special for Celeste, a way to show her how he feels and what he envisions for their future. As fate would have it, grand romantic plans rarely go off without a hitch. Rhett had arranged for a small, intimate surprise for Celeste the next weekend. He planned to take her on a short trip to his private countryside cottage, only a couple hours' drive, still close enough to a city hospital just in case. The idea was to give her a change of scenery and, in a beautiful spot by a frozen lake, express his feelings, perhaps even ask her to officially build a family with him. The ring burning a hole in his pocket. Yes, he got a ring. A simple, elegant band with a sapphire flanked by diamonds, because it reminded him of her eyes and the stars. This attested to how far his heart has led him. But the very night before this planned outing, a fierce winter storm descends on the region. Blizzards and howling winds knock out power lines. By twilight, the estate is cloaked in snow, and electricity flickers out. The back-up generator kicks in for essential power, but the roads are soon impassable. Celeste and Rhett hunker down by the fireplace, candles lit throughout the house. The storm is raging, but inside there's a cocoon of warmth and candle. Glow. Celeste is now about 36 weeks along. The baby's due date is nearing, and with each passing day, both excitement and anxiety build. As they sit on the couch wrapped in a blanket, Rhett keeps an arm around her protectively. They aren't aware of it yet, but this storm has perhaps triggered something in Celeste's body. It starts with a low back pain that Celeste attributes to a long day. Then, a cramp. She shifts uncomfortably. Rhett notices. "You okay?" She rubs her belly. "Yeah, just a bit sore. Maybe dehydration again." She sips water. They resume talking softly about their hopes for the baby. Celeste says she can't wait to see what the baby's personality is like. Rhett confesses he's secretly been reading parenting books, to which she gives an amused, adoring smile. Every so often, Celeste winces. After it happens a few times at regular intervals, Rhett's eyes narrow. "Celeste, are you having contractions?" he asks, trying to keep calm. "These are different. Stronger," she finally admits. "But I'm not due for another month nearly. It might just be false again." The intervals shorten. Rhett starts timing them with his watch, and his heart sinks and leaps simultaneously. This looks real. The storm has blocked any chance of driving out, and phone service is spotty, though he gets a message out. To Dr. Montgomery, who says an ambulance can't get through until the storm eases, which could be hours. They prepare for the possibility that the baby might be coming, here and now. Far from panicking, Rhett switches into steady, supportive mode. He recalls everything from those classes and books. He helps Celeste upstairs to the master bedroom. It's warmer and has an ensuite where they can have supplies. The housekeeper and nurse can't reach the estate due to the weather, so it's just them. He calls emergency services, who say to stay put. A team will come as soon as roads clear a bit. In the meantime, they talk him through some basics and signs to watch. Celeste is scared, but tries to be brave. "Rhett, I'm sorry, this is not how it was supposed to happen," she says between contractions, tears in her eyes. She imagined a hospital, doctors, safety. Rhett brushes her hair off her sweaty brow. "Hey, look at me," he says firmly. "We can do this. Women have given birth in worse conditions and far from any hospital. I'm right here with you every step. You are not alone. We're a team, okay?" She nods, clutching his hand hard as another contraction hits. It's intense. She tries the breathing they practiced. Rhett coaches her softly, offering his arm or torso as support as she tries different positions to ease the pain, leaning on him, on all fours on the bed, etc. Time blurs. The storm outside rages as if echoing the turmoil and miracle happening inside. In the midst of it, between contractions, Celeste suddenly looks at Rhett with raw fear. "Rhett, if something happens to me..." He shakes his head vehemently, eyes wet. "Don't. Nothing will happen to you. You'll be fine. I won't let anything happen." His voice breaks on the last words, revealing how terrified he truly is of losing her. She manages a faint smile. "If I didn't know better, I'd say you sound like a man in love." It slips out in the heat of the moment, a half-joking, half-true statement. He freezes for half a second, then cups her face, even as she kneels on the bed preparing for another contraction. "I am a man in love," he confesses, voice filled with emotion. "I'm in love with you, Celeste, so you have to be okay, because I have a lifetime of loving you ahead of me." Her eyes brim with tears, of joy, of relief, of pain, all mixed. "I love you too," she gasps out as another contraction mounts, cutting right into this incredible moment. It's chaos and magic at once. Rhett feels like his heart might explode. She loves him, he loves her, and now they're bringing their child into the world together, an experience more intimate than anything. The labor progresses fast, faster than a first birth typically would. By the time the worst of the storm passes and an EMT team finally makes it through, Celeste is already in active labor, near transition. Rhett has been an absolute rock, whispering encouragement and holding her through every wave of pain. Celeste is exhausted, crying out, and Rhett himself has tears streaming as he tells her how amazing she is, how proud he is of her. When the EMTs arrive, they assist with the delivery right there at home, since there's no time to safely transport. In a flurry of final pushes and overwhelming emotion, Celeste gives birth. The sound of a baby's strong cry fills the bedroom just as the first light of dawn breaks through storm clouds. It's a girl. Celeste collapses back against the pillows, sobbing with relief and joy. The EMT places the tiny, wailing newborn on Celeste's chest. Rhett, who was supporting Celeste through the final push, finds himself staring in awe at his daughter. Their daughter. He's never seen anything as profound or beautiful. Celeste, flushed and tearful, laughs in disbelief, arms around the slippery, squirming infant. Rhett wraps his arm around both of them, pressing his forehead to Celeste's. "You did it, my love. You did it," he whispers, voice full of pride and wonder. Celeste looks up at him, radiant despite her exhaustion. "When we did it." She gently lifts the baby girl slightly. "Meet our daughter, Rhett." He carefully takes the baby, cradling her with the utmost care as the EMTs finish. Their tasks checking baby's vitals, delivering the placenta, tending to Celeste. The baby quiets as Rhett holds her, perhaps soothed by the steady beat of his strong heart. He gazes down at the little face. She has a shock of dark hair, and when her eyes blink open for a moment, he swears they look like Celeste's. In that moment, Rhett Blackwood, the man who once thought love was a myth and family an inconvenience, feels his heart swell to bursting. If he hadn't already said it, he'd say it now. Love overwhelms him. Love for the tiny life in his arms, and for the woman who made this miracle possible. Celeste, fighting fatigue, watches the tender scene of father and child. Rhett is cooing softly, rocking the baby with surprising natural ease. It dawns on Celeste that he has fully embraced not just the role of father, but of partner. Later, as the adrenaline subsides and the EMTs ensure both mom and baby are stable, Rhett sits by Celeste, his side on the bed, their baby girl swaddled and content in Celeste's arms now, nursing softly. The world feels still and perfect around them, despite the melted candles and the chaos of the night. Rhett remembers the ring. In the rush of labor, it had slipped his mind, but now he realizes he doesn't want to wait another moment. He gently shifts. "Hold her for a second," Celeste says with a smile. As she finishes feeding, and Rhett expertly takes the baby to burp her. Once the baby is safely snoozing in a crib the EMT brought in from the ambulance, Rhett returns to Celeste's side. She reaches for his hand, intertwining their fingers. "I meant what I said, Rhett. I love you," she murmurs. He brings her hand to his lips, so reminiscent of that night by the fire. But this time, he kisses not just her hand, but then her lips softly. It's their first true kiss. Finally, it's soft and sweet, full of gratitude and promise, sealing their mutual confession of love. Celeste sighs happily against his lips. Despite her tiredness, she feels like she's floating. Rhett pulls back just enough to look into her eyes. "Celeste, you have given me more than I ever deserved. You showed me love. You gave me our beautiful child, and you've changed my life completely." He reaches into the pocket of his rumpled pants and pulls out the ring. Celeste's eyes go wide. Rhett gets down on one knee beside the bed, a bit theatrical perhaps, but he's earnest. "I had this whole plan to ask you somewhere romantic, but no time like the present." His voice is filled with emotion. "Will you marry me, Celeste Hart? Not because of any contract or image, but because I'm hopelessly in love with you, and I want to spend the rest of my days making you and our child happy." Tears well up anew in Celeste's eyes, a radiant smile on her lips. "Yes," she whispers, then stronger. "Yes, of course I will." He slips the ring onto her finger. It fits perfectly. She flings her arms around his neck, and he kisses her again, more passionately this time. Still, mindful of her physical state, but conveying all the pent-up desire and love he's held back. Despite the exhaustion and the storm's aftermath, this is the happiest moment of their lives. The new family, father, mother, and baby, cuddle together as the sun fully rises, golden light washing over them. In the days that follow, Celeste and the baby, whom they name Aurora, Rose Blackwood, Aurora for the dawn that followed. The storm and Rose, because Celeste always loved roses, are checked at the hospital and pronounced healthy. The news that the infamous Rhett Blackwood delivered his own child in a blizzard with the surrogate might have made juicy gossip, but Rhett and Celeste choose to keep the details private. Rhett issues a simple statement through his company that his child was born and both mother and baby are doing well. To those in the know, it's clear he refers to Celeste as the mother, a subtle but important distinction. Investor Crane, hearing that Rhett is now engaged, quickly reverses his stance, feigning hearty congratulations. Rhett could care less about Crane's approval now. His company is doing brilliantly anyway. The product launch turned out a success, with Rhett juggling fatherhood and CEO-hood like a pro. But he takes a moment to privately tell Crane and others, "My family life is my strength, not a weakness. I hope you all understand that now." They do. They've seen a new fire in him, and also a newfound empathy that even makes him a better leader at work. Celeste, after recovery, moves freely around the mansion as more than just a guest. It's her home now. She and Rhett plan a wedding for the spring, something small and meaningful. She even invites her mother to come live with them so she can be close and help with the baby. Rhett is completely on board, having grown fond of the idea of an extended family under one roof. Who would have thought? The once solitary man now wants a bustling home. Through all the twists and turns, from a cold contract to a warm love, from businesslike detachment to heartfelt connection, both Rhett and Celeste have grown tremendously. Their story wasn't without obstacles. Jealousy, fear, self-doubt, and external pressures all threatened to tear them apart, but in the end, their bond only strengthened under each test. They learned to communicate. After the birth, they often reflect on how important it was that they talked and listened, from Celeste sharing her secret and fears, to Rhett opening up about his vulnerability and love. They also learned about sacrifice in a new light. Celeste initially thought she was sacrificing by being a surrogate for pay, and Rhett thought he was sacrificing emotions for a legacy. Instead, they both sacrificed their emotional walls to let love in, and it gave them a legacy far richer than just wealth. In a heartfelt scene a week after Aurora's birth, Rhett finds Celeste in the nursery, rocking the baby to sleep. He watches quietly from the door, in awe of the picture, his fiancée humming a lullaby to their tiny infant. After Aurora is settled in the crib, Rhett hugs Celeste from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Thank you," he whispers. Celeste turns her head to kiss his cheek. "For what?" "For giving me all of this. Love, family, a reason to be a better man," he says. His tone is humble, a far cry from the arrogant CEO he once might have been. Celeste smiles, leaning back into him. "You've given me the same. I never imagined when I agreed to that contract that I'd find not just a purpose, but my heart's home." They stand there, arms around each other, watching their child sleep and feeling an overwhelming sense of peace. To add a touch of light humor, Aurora suddenly makes a funny gurgling sound in her sleep, and a very loud tiny baby toot. Rhett's eyes widen comically. Did that noise just come out of her? Celeste snickers. "Certainly wasn't me." They both laugh softly, covering their mouths so as not to wake her. "She's definitely your daughter," Celeste teases. Already making her presence known, Rhett puts a hand to his heart in mock offense. "Blaming me for that, are you? Just wait until I teach her to hack into her first tablet. Then you'll see she takes after me," he jokes. Celeste shakes her head, chuckling. Oh boy, a tech prodigy with her father's stubbornness and maybe her mother's clumsiness. We're in for it. They share a warm laugh and quietly step out, leaving the baby to dream. The next part of their journey lies ahead: marriage, parenthood, balancing romance, with midnight diaper changes, but they are ready to face it together. Their love story has proven that sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the happiest of endings. Their journey leaves us with a heartwarming truth. Sometimes life's most unexpected twists lead to our greatest blessings. And when you open your heart, no matter how guarded or inexperienced you are, love has a way of finding you, stunning you, and changing your world for the better. If this story warmed your heart, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more tales like this one. Leave a heart in the comments if you believe love can change even the hardest of hearts, and share this story with someone who needs to. Be reminded that hope, family, and love are always worth fighting for.